compassion is probably the most important community resource that we need to build, characterize, deploy for the benefit of the community. Compassion in medicine, compassion in nursing, compassion in clinics, compassion on the job. You see, at the end of the day, our health is related to our living condition, our working condition, our lifestyle. Everything contributes to the stress we feel, and the stress we feel determines our health. Compassion is one way. That is, it does not cost us anything. It just requires us to take one extra step on behalf of somebody. And if we all do that, my God, think about it. A nickel is nothing. But if 1 million people donate a nickel, do you know where that can take a community? Just a little bit at a time, you know. And that is what compassion that I'm working on right now is about. That is what I believe it can do. We just need to create awareness of compassion in the community, because I'm not sure people are fully aware of the impact of our behavior towards one another on our health. You know, I have a lot, and I did not know this until in the clinic when I started seeing patients with elevated blood pressure that I've known for over 10 years. Blood pressure has been controlled. Then this person will show up and blood pressure will be out of control, and I'll sit them down and I'm like, why is your blood pressure so high after it's been controlled for so many years? And then they sit down and they start telling me stories. And many times it's either the one woman particularly that stands out for me was this 50-year-old Hispanic woman. She's been my patient for over 10 years. Her blood pressure has been controlled. One time she showed up with uncontrolled blood pressure. And the next thing I asked her, what's going on? It turns out her husband just died, and her son was trying to sell the house from under her. That would make anybody's blood pressure go up, you know. And of course, I could throw more pills at her, but what I did was to invite her and her son into the clinic and let the boy understand exactly what is going on, what he's doing to his mother. You know, they figured it out, you know. So that was where I got my inspiration. Like, you know what? We think we get angry, we think we want to get even, but we are not fully aware of the impact of being mean to one another. It goes beyond the moment. You can be angry now, but in your anger you can do something that will create a lifelong problem for somebody else. And that may not be what you intended. So we need to be more aware. You know, compassion is not something you talk about, it's something you do. You know, you go out of your way. You just have to do it. It's a spiritual exercise that we must all commit and engage in on a daily basis. They're looking for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There are two things about compassionate people. They are very giving. They give of time, they give of money, they give things. If they have it, they will give it. The second part of compassion that people are not often aware of is that compassionate people are very forgiving and forbearing. And that was the second factor we were capturing. Because when you look at the question, what did we ask people? We asked people one question under tolerance, and the question was, how often would you allow people the pleasure of something that causes you pain? We ask only one question in sensitivity, which is, how often would you deny yourself the pleasure of something that causes others pain? And objectivity is, how often would you do the right thing if it puts your family at risk? You see, it is easy to be compassionate with your friends and in your family. But true compassion has to be more objective than that. You have to be able to treat people for being people, regardless of your relationship or biases about them. So this was what we found out. It turns out that at about the same time that we're doing this study, if a neurologist way out in University of Wisconsin in Milwaukee was developing a training tool for compassion. And part of what they measured in their study was generosity, the giving part of compassion. So we're working now, and they've shown that not only does that training increase your compassion behavior, it actually induces some changes in your brain around emotion. The way your brain processes information when you undergo compassion training is different. So what we're looking to do now is to look at, if we do compassion, let's examine relation between compassion and psychosocial well-being, perceived stress and quality of life. In clinics, the reason 3 out of 4 times when my patient's blood pressure went out of control, especially after it has been controlled for a long time, it is not because the medicine stopped working. It was because something else happened. Either the husband did something, or the son tried to sell the house from under the mother after the death of the father. Something like that, all the time. So you see, what I'm hoping that we will do together is we need to raise the awareness of all of us as healers. Because look, we all heal and we can kill. And you can choose what you're going to do. We affect ourselves in way more profound ways than we realize. I'll close with one story. I had a patient one time who's been my patient for about 10 years. And all this time, her blood pressure, blood sugar had always been controlled. One time she came to see me and everything was out of whack. I'm like, what's going on? Something else is going on. I put my pen down. Tell me what's going on at home. Then she told me that all this time that her blood sugar and blood pressure was fine, she was living with her son. And she was cooking. So she had control of the kitchen. And she was diabetic, so the son was being fed diabetic diet. Then the son got married. And then the wife didn't get along with her. And she kicked her out of the kitchen. And that is the reason for the last 2 visits, the blood sugar, blood pressure had been out of whack. I had 2 options at that point. I can give her more medicine, or I can try to intervene in this compassion problem. So I told her I want to see the son and the wife. So they all came. And I didn't have to say much. I said, I know you don't get along with your mother-in-law, but do you want her blood on your hands? She looked at me like, what are you talking? I'm like, I showed her the records. I've known this woman for at least 10 years. See, everything has been fine. In the last 2 months, everything has been out of whack. You're the one that came in. I know you don't get along with her, but I want to tell you, if you don't change anything, given enough time, she will either have a stroke, have a heart attack, or she'll end up on dialysis and she will die very soon. If that's what you want, keep it that way. You know what she said? She said, I know we don't get along, but I didn't mean to hurt her. She was not realizing that she was a healer. We're all healers. We can choose to heal and we can choose to kill the way we relate to ourselves. And this is exactly where I'm headed. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Raising awareness about compassion. We affect ourselves in way more profound ways than we're willing to admit.